Then her spirits rose as she heard the sound of Edmond's motorbike and saw him swoop towards their house. He alighted from his beloved vehicle, hurried indoors, and rushed to embrace the two of them. He was tall and still thin, never having quite recovered his robust appearance from before he had been injured. Edmond picked up his daughter, now wearing her nightclothes and all prepared for bed. They passed a few minutes together before he took the drowsy child upstairs to the nursery and set her down in her cot. Almost at once there was a knock at the door. Edmond answered it, and she heard him welcoming his friend. "This is Dennis," he said, taking his greatcoat to hang up. She followed him into the hall. "Lovely to meet you," she said. She had not met the tall, fair-haired young soldier before. He had studied with Edmond in his first year at university. Back then, she had known Edmond only from their encounters as children. They'd become reacquainted just before the war had broken out. And by autumn 1914, Edmond had volunteered to become an officer. It had been around a year later that Dennis had joined up to fight. "He's one of our first visitors. I must make him welcome." "I know your brother, Horace, of course," she said, leading him through to their tiny dining room, where she had already set the table using the cloth Mother had made, with the elaborate lacy crocheted border. She began serving their meal on the Royal Albert crown china plates from their dinner service. Edmond poured them some wine. "This is delicious, Amy," Dennis said. "So you're not back from France permanently yet?" she asked Dennis. He was in the familiar khaki uniform. "Only on leave. I gather from Edmond that while he was fighting in France, you were working as a nurse." "Yes, I joined the voluntary aid detachment." Her war work had been demanding, and she had witnessed some horrifying injuries, but she was thankful she had played her part. They had married while he was on leave. When we were both in France, Edmond and I would try to get leave so we could snatch days or a weekend together. She had scarcely dared to try to plan their future together in those fraught days. Their time abroad had ended in 1917, when Edmond had been hit by a shell while serving near Ypres. She still sometimes had nightmares about the days when she had not even known if he would survive. And now she was resigned to the fact that his health would never entirely recover. She had been sent home too, as she had been expecting Beth. They had at least been together while they were staying with his family at the beaches. No longer fit enough to fight, he'd been anxious to resume his pre-war studies. Anything less would have seemed like allowing the Huns to ruin his life. Dennis looked at their treasured photograph, hanging from the picture rail in its silver-plated frame. "And that must be your daughter." "That's the lovely picture of the three of us at Beth's christening last summer," she said. "So you all moved here last autumn?" Dennis asked. "Edmond did, and I meant to join him," she said. She had intended to move with him at the start of Michaelmas term to cosset him and make sure he didn't overexert himself. A succession of illnesses in the family had compelled her to delay moving here with Beth. She looked across at Edmond's contented face. At last they were finally settled together. Edmond was older than some of the undergraduates in his year, and one of the few married ones. "Edmond's family gave us a home at their fine house, but I always longed for a little place of our own," she told their visitor. "I remember how thrilled you looked when you first cooked us Sunday lunch here, and when you arranged the nursery for Beth," Edmond said with his captivating smile. There had been her early visits to see their future home, admiring the little brick-built house with ivy on its facade, and the quaint old town. Finally, in the new year, she had been thrilled to move in with Beth and the last of their possessions. "Sometimes it still seems a miracle that the three of us are all together, in our own home at last." Edmond helped her clear the dishes, and there was an aroma of cinnamon and cloves as she served the apple pie for their pudding. By the time Edmond had been sufficiently recovered from his injury to return to